So, we're up to our, I think, fourth session.
Fifth.
Fourth.
You sure it's fourth?
Well, I think so. I think fourth video. Fourth video. Anyway, that doesn't matter. To the next session. So, one thing I just want to mention in the Pirkei Avot, right, in the Ethics of the Fathers, it says that I grew up among the rabbis, and I didn't find anything better for the guf, for the body, than shtika, which means silence. Meaning, describing the fact that if you're silent, now there's two types of silence. There's the silence with the sound, and the silence in the brain, right? People who have a lot of noise in the brain, you know how it is when you hear like you get, you think you're gonna explode, and that's because your brain is noisy with all the different sounds and all different thoughts you have and all different. So the body is better in a quiet place. That's why many people, when they want to feel better and calm, they go in a quiet place. It's not, So it's true on a spiritual level and physical. When you're in a silent place, and all the meditation, teachers say you should go in a place where you're not going to be disturbed. It's going to be completely silent, right? That's why most rabbis say that the time to meditate is at night, when the kids are already in bed, or when it's quiet in the house, and you go in a room that is dark, ideally, because light can be a distraction, and you try to meditate during that time. In a way, the reason also we do it during the night, the rabbis always advise to do it during Tikkun Chatzot. Tikkun Chatzot is that special prayer that we do in midnight, where there's a special, it's called Chut Shel Chesed, or Shel Malchut, that when you pray in the middle of the night, there's a special line of chesed, of love or mercy that comes during that time, and the gate of prayer that's where it's the most open. Why? Because you're in the middle of the night, when basically the whole world, at least in your continent, the people are sleeping, and it's dark, and there's nothing. There's only the forces of evil, so to speak, out, because night represents the forces of evil. That's why most crimes happens at night. Unfortunately, today day becomes like night, so there's a lot of crimes also during the day. But so when you take that time during the night, in the middle of the night, when everything looks like it's dead, people are sleeping, which is a symbol of death, which is a taste of death, and people are doing crimes. At that moment, you go out of your sleep, go out, and you confront directly, so to speak, the forces of darkness, of sleep, of death, of crimes, and you start meditating, you start praying. That's like putting a candle in the darkest place, and you say the nishmas Adam is Neh Hashem, that the soul of man is like a candle of God. So you become like that light, shining and bringing light in the darkness point during the entire day. That's why there's a special blessing of bracha, so to speak, during that moment when you pray in the middle of the night. So it's called Tikkun Chatzot. So I wanted to, at the beginning of creation, I want to show that. I show that in the Kabbalistic series that I do, but I want to show you because it has to do also with meditation, right? It's all about the brain, essentially. We're trying to work our brain, and our power energy is here. Our brain is the quantum computer, is the source of energy and everything that can control the body. We have to stop being a consequence of the world. We have to make things happen, not let things happen to us. Don't be a consequence of the world. Make the world be a consequence of yourself. Remember that. Okay, so originally the world was white. Well, there was no world. There was only Hashem. Nothing else. Right? Everything was white, so to speak. Light. White is like the light. It's Hashem. God is represented by light. Definition and God needed to allow the world to exist. In order for the world to exist, for us to exist, he has to hide himself, because if he doesn't conceal himself, at least on some level, then there's no room for our existence, there's no room for our own free choice. If God is completely revealed in front of me, then it's reality, it's truth, I cannot sin, I cannot go against him, right? He's in charge of everything. it's like my finger realizing that he's part of my of the body. It's like, yeah, you can't go against me. So God has to, in a way, say, okay, you hand, you don't see the body, and now you think you are independent. So, so God created the greatest gift, which is concealing Himself and giving us free choice. But He needed a concealment for that. So that's what that picture represents, right? It's called the tzimtzum, the concealment, so to speak. And instead of having all white, it creates a vacated space. You say vacated? Vacated space where He's hiding. So we are in that space. Or humanity, the world, so to speak, you can imagine that as Earth or as the universe, all in that space. Now it's all dark, but what's really dark is this book or the bottle or the table or the tree or the stone closer to God than me or less close to God than me?
Equally.
No, technically, and in the way the world was created, the first thing is the stone. The stone is the thing that can say it's like inert. It's right. Nothing minerals, doesn't have any life on its own, so to speak. So therefore, it's the closest to God. Because it has no mind on its own to go against God or not to recognize God.
Yeah, but there's no dynamic between. There's no relationship because.
No, it's a direct expression of God. It is God in the most physical. It looks like the less physical, but it's completely right detached from going against God. So it's. Although on the physical level it looks like the most detached from God, on the spiritual level it's the closest to God, right? So it's the one of the first thing created. It's like in terms of physical.
Around, yeah.
So and the man is the one who is the latest in the creation, and the one with the most brain, so to speak, and the one with the most independence, with the most imagination, and the only one who has the ability really to go completely against God. To say no, there's no God. The only this brain, this dark, all those dot points. Let's say that's like a computer, right? It's how you say pixels, right? Pixels, right? It's like binary code, right? It's 0 and 1. So everything in the world is 0, 1. Once we turn the 1, right? Then it becomes God. God becomes light. It becomes light. It becomes white again. If we're 0. Then that means I don't recognize God. So really the only place that is dark in the world is this. Meaning that round thing, you have to imagine it's your brain. That's the only place. That place in your brain where you have free choice and you say, I don't see God, there's no God, it's an illusion, it's not true. That's the only place where it's dark. If all brains in the world will for a second realize and internalize the fact that everything is God, and God is everywhere, that whole thing will become white right away. Because everything around us is God. The only place that doesn't see God is here. It's my brain telling me that the table is not God.
Perception.
That perception. It's all about perception. And in quantum physics, that's what we realize. What's quantum physics is realizing that what I see changes the potential, right, of what I see. Meaning, I imagine this is what it is, but that's my way of perception, the way I conceive things. But really, it could look different. I think this is solid. If I take a microscope, I see it's completely empty. It's just atoms and electrons, right? So our job as Jews, I mean humanity, but Jews, our responsibility is to turn all of humanity, to turn the brain back to ones, from 0 to 1, and to turn all this back to white. That's our job. That's what we call spark collectors, meaning to take back the sparks of light and to get rid of the evil and to bring back the light. With light into the nation. What's the light? It's the light in the brain, the soul. So that's our job. Now, what's that line that the Kabbalists use? That's called the Kava Yashar, which is
vertical axis.
Right, vertical axis, which is a stray of light that was created after, meaning once God concealed Himself. Meaning once you're in the dark, how do you reconnect? How do you connect, so to speak, back to God? If you're in the darkness, how do you know where to even find the light, to reconnect to the light? So you could say, yes, it's your soul, but the Kabbalah explained that's the tree of life. Right, that was in the Garden of Eden, so to speak. Right, that was, if Adam had eaten from the tree of life, he would have reconnected all the black to the white, and he will have spread right away.
So what is this white again?
It's that place where you can reconnect, even though you're in the dark. You can. It's the switch to put all the black back to light, to white.
Okay.
It's meaning it's really the Torah.
Is it a physical place?
It's the Torah.
Or is
It's not the place. It's a concept, so to say.
Like another dimension.
It's another dimension. It's in your brain. It's the switch. That's what describes the Torah. The Etz HaChaim is the Torah. Etz Chaim Hi Lemachazikim Ba. When you learn the Torah contains in it the light. And that's why when you speak Torah, it brings a light to the world. So when you learn Torah, you're connecting yourself to that light, and you are downloading light to the world. In your brain, you understand really. The more why do we learn Torah? Why all those concepts and all that? The more you spend time learning Torah, the more the way you look at the world changes, and you look at the world the way it really is, and then you're able to experience it, right? If you say, "Oh, I want to experience water," so I go in the water, but I have a suit. I say, "I didn't feel water. It was cold, but I didn't feel the water." Yeah, because you have to put yourself in the right way. You have to connect to it the right way, right? If I want to feel electricity, but I take a wood piece to touch it, it's not going to work. So how do I connect to reality of God? I have to put myself into God's world, and that's the Torah. The Torah enables me to see with the 4D glasses where I can understand and see the spiritual, and then my mind goes back to white.
This is an image from the Kabbalah?
Yeah.
So why is it, this is a question, why is it that there's a line going vertically down as opposed to having like a circle of white light in the middle?
Because technically this is not a complete accurate picture. Technically it should go all the way down here.
Yeah.
It depends how you look at it. But basically the idea is that this is the center, the most dark place in the world, right? And there are many different levels.
Like this is what I learned. Like, you know the letter bet?
Like
the letter bet represents the path of the light, where it goes. So bet, like this, right? It starts up, and then it goes outwards, then down the dimensions, then it spreads to, whatever world we're in, and we're supposed to bring it back up. Well, that's it. That's like part of the bet, but then we're supposed to connect it back up. Like magnetic fields, like that, same thing. We're supposed to go up.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So so this is really, so to speak, for now, God is around, right? He's like when we meditate, that's what we think we're going out, trying to connect to the light out. It's almost like you say, we are here in the dark space, that's our brain, and then we try to feel the light, so we meditate and we feel our soul going out till we reconnect to God Himself. All those levels, that's what they call the Sfirot, is a different level of concealment. Meaning the more you go higher, the more, that's when it can become scary, the more spiritual it becomes. Nothing really can happen. I mean, you have to, it's just, it feels you go in a place of unknown. Why is the unknown scary?
No, but
It's because it's, you don't know yet. It's a place where there's God, there's spirituality. The Jews at Mount Sinai, right? They say they heard God speak, and they say, whoa, it's too much for us. God, Moshe, you speak to God, and we'll listen, right?
But you know how they say some people go crazy?
Yeah, but that's
not
one
that.
person in a billion. It's very rare.
Because I know like 2 people.
Well, it depends if they do something without knowing what they're doing. Yeah, I mean, you have to. That's what there's Jewish meditation. You have to read with Jewish meditation. You have to know what you're doing, but you needed a teacher. Everybody needs a teacher. So this really the idea of the Tzimtzum, and that's why I want to finish with that with right. So to speak, this is a very good explanation of the name of God. We're speaking about the name of God, Yud, Hey, and Vav, and Hey, right? So that name of God, Yud, K, Vav, K, right? They put it as part of this, meaning why do we don't pronounce this name? Why is that name so holy? Why we call it the name, right? Because it's the name that represents all what we just spoke about. Is that when it's understanding that God is here but concealed in this world. Now, our whole job is to understand God's name. Understanding God's name is understand how He concealed Himself through different levels and be here with us even though we don't see Him, right? That's a little bit our discovery. They say the whole Torah is the name of God. It's a one big long name of God. Everything is included in Yud Kei Vav Kei, but the whole Torah is like that big long name of God. And when you learn the Torah, you understand how the system works. That's what learning Torah is. So when now we come on Rosh Hashanah, it's actually a good time to try to think, okay, right, God created this world, and I'm about to enter that new world, the world of infinite possibilities, right? And you have to choose what type of year you want to have. If you want a year where you're going to be in the darkness, or you're going to be a year where you're going to discover more of the light. And if you ask God to show you ways, or to go deeper, and to get close to God, and to have the tools to do it, then that's what you ask on Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, it's not a sad moment. It's a moment where you're almost like Adam HaRishon before he sinned, right? Every year is a cycle. When we come on Rosh Hashanah, it's like a reboot, reboot, and now you're like Adam, the first man in Gan Eden, just before the sin. If you were before the sin, what would you do? If you were Adam or Eve, just before the sin, what would you do? What did God ask us to do in Gan Eden?
Anything
Multiply?
we want.
No, wait. I don't know.
Just enjoy life.
Just enjoy it, but just don't
Yeah,
touch the
and
tree.
how he says, go eat from all the fruits of the garden,
Except
Right.
for...
except for one, right? And that was where we fell. So really, what we have, and that's on Rosh Hashanah, what do? We say all the Hamans, you take like the head of a fish or a lamb, or we have the grenades, and say that our life we should fill like with like so many seeds of grenades, and we use our imagination, and we use all the beauty of this world. We try to recognize the beauty to realize how much God gives us, how much He loves us, and how much power our imagination has. When we do all the Al-Haman, you can take anything. Let's say you take, that's what I do with my rabbi, takes an apple, and you look at the apple and say, just like this apple is, green and sweet, you should have, right, like we do with the honey, you should have a sweet ear. You're supposed to try to work on your imagination on Rosh Hashanah, because what makes God be in your life is here. It's. And I keep repeating it, but it's so simple, right? Meaning, where is God? God is everywhere where you let Him in, and the only place that we don't let Him in, it's here. The way I look at the world, I can say, yeah, you come from the monkeys. You're just a bunch of minerals and and flesh, but nice creature. You're a nice creature. Or you can say, no, I'm going to look at you in different eyes. There's a soul in you, and you are recovered. Your soul covered with flesh and things, because you need to be concealed. Because if I would see you as a soul, and I would see the energy everywhere, then I have no choice to do the good thing, to only do good things. So therefore, I look at you and say, I know that you're a soul. I don't see it yet, but I know. So God, I'm showing you that even though I don't see it clearly, and it could be a little doubt, I believe 100% that you're here. Your soul, that God is here, right? And that's our work. And we start Rosh Hashanah, and the more you have to think of it all the time. You look at the tree and you imagine the spiritual tree, and that's the advantage of meditating and looking at the energy and being able to see the energy and the aura, is because you start seeing the life force of God in the thing, right, in the world. Let me show you one last thing, because I think it's too cool. Oh, it's only 6:43? No, my phone stays in the past. We transcended time. My phone is back to 6. It's still on 6:43. Incredible.
We came here like 6:40.
It's amazing.
What?
We came here like
Oh,
6:40.
not 7:08. Okay.
Yeah, it's 7:01.
See, it's incredible.
Back to reality.
So, what I want to show.
Where did you get this book?
I made it. It's everybody tells me like, I want this book
Looks
too.
like a cool book.
Yeah. So let me see. Let me show you. Now we're speaking about the black stuff, right? The Tzimtzum, the dark space. Now in the past, the scientists they used to think that dark space is empty space. Space is empty. Now we realize it's not empty. It's called dark matter, right? And the dark matter, dark energy, is actually smart, so to speak. It's active. It's active, and it's so active that now that's how they draw it. That the world, we know the world is expanding, and what makes that world expanding? That dark,
The force of
the dark energy,
and I heard also
dark matter.
there's a force of gravity that keeps.
Right. It speaks about here, force of dark matter, and the gravity, whatever. I didn't go yet into details, but basically, that's it, the world expands because of the dark energy, and it's going faster and faster. What happens if it goes faster and faster? When you go to tremendous speed?
You match the speed of light.
Right.
Wait, but
And
there are the 3 speeds of light, though.
Wait, 1 second.
I read too much.
So the it goes too fast, meaning all the dark, all the Tzimtzum that we just spoke about goes back to energy. Meaning God created a world where there's a limit of time of how long it's going to stay in the dark. But the world is intelligent, it's like a clock ticking, and we have the ability to see the light and bring the light by ourselves, by imagining and creating it, or by letting the world, nature, make it by itself.
By year 7,000, it's going to be light already, or no?
So the light is going to start 6,000. When Moshe is going to come, it's the beginning of the revelation of God's presence. And from then on, it's going to go 6, 7,000, 8,000, 10,000. And 10,000, that's back to the speed of light, where, already in the spiritual world, they say there was a kind of time, because when God created the world, it says already there was some time. Friday, it was in Gan Eden, so there's the type of time in Gan Eden, not like here. But the constant of time eventually is going to disappear. If there's no space, there's no time. And God is beyond time and space, right? So when you go back to God, to pure, the essence of energy and light, then you go back to the beginning. So there'll be no time, nothing. But it's incredible how you see the world itself is moving. That's why when we pray, we say Matzmiach and Yeshua, that God, we ask God to bring the Yeshua, but we say by Sfardim, Tzipinu Tzipinu Kol Hayom, that we should be able to see the Yeshua happen. Not just we want, oh God, bring the Yeshua. No. God bring the how we say Yeshua? Redemption, right? God bring the redemption. You don't understand. God is bringing redemption. The redemption is happening right now in this room as we're thinking, and the light is becoming, the world becoming clear in our mind. And when you look at the world and the world changing and science becoming part of the spiritual world, and then realize, wow, it is happening around us. So we're not saying that God bring Moshiach. Moshiach is here. Everything is here. We just have to access it. You can heal yourself for free with your own soul. Yeah, but how do you do it? You have to access it. Everything is here. Refuah before the Makkah, right? God sends the healing before the disease. But where is it? You have to access it. You have to look for it. You have to want it. So our whole job as human beings is really to work on entering that reality, the reality of Torah. And once we swim in that water of Torah, then we become, used to it, and we can help other people. And it's like the Matrix. Go back to Neo, the Matrix. But really, some people are not ready to be unplugged. You can tell them whatever scientific proof, they just can't. You have to unplug the people who are ready, and let people know, okay, this is how it works. You have to be open-minded. Someone is closed-minded, doesn't work. They're blocking their imagination, so it's hard. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So once you were saying once we reach that speed of light, we're back to the beginning.
Right.
So does this entire existence start from scratch again?
Yes. The only reason we're here after 6,000, there's going to be 6,000 years, is because at the beginning we mess up something. So we have a cycle, and we go back to the cycle at the beginning, and we're going to be back to Gan Eden, so to speak, with Adam
It's just
and
gonna
Eve.
happen all over
And
again.
yeah,
Well,
well,
hopefully we'll
no,
make
from
the
then
right
from then
choice.
on, God said, from then on, you will have fix. Whatever you did to fix on your own, that's what you'll get. But you could have done it in one shot. Instead of it, you took 6,000 years of history. So
But
it's,
existence will just continue.
At another
continue
level.
forever,
And
but
then
on a
even,
higher level.
Even then, once we get to a higher level, it occurs exponentially. So we'll get to the next level even faster than before,
Right.
and then faster and faster.
That's it.
It's that existential. What happens at the very end?
I remember we're back with God in unity. That's why it's all about love. That's why it's all about unity.
For
That's why
eternity, right?
we're what for eternity, right? I mean, we don't know. Ultimately, maybe God has another plan that we don't know. But what we know is that we go back to that feeling of oneness, and that's why the ultimate life of a human being is to be married and to be one in love, and all that. That ultimately we know that's where we just want to end. You just want to die with your spouse in your arms, say let's live forever or die forever together. Right? That's
Like
the
in the
greatest
Notebook.
type of death, right? And that's almost neshika, right? The God comes and kiss you and say you're one with me forever now. So we're looking at that, but that's why we have. Why do we have a cycle of the week? Why is the entire world, all
Built on
7 billion people, doing 7 days a week? To me, when I was not religious, it was like mind-blowing. Why do we all do 7? I want to do 3. He wants to do 10. Why you have to all 7 days of the week?
It's true.
Because we all on a cycle and 6 days and Shabbat. 6 days and Shabbat. Why? Because remember, you have 6,000 years, and then the Shabbat 7,000 years. You have 6,000 years. It's a cycle and a cycle until we go back and we fix everything. It's a constant reminder. Right? And now that we know that, we are ready for the ultimate meditation. Thank you.
It works.